The question is, what sort of charges does Card and Cloud calculate, and how are they calculated? Now, okay, so I'll start by explaining it from a transport perspective, because there's differences between transport and warehousing in this. With transport, you've typically got your standard delivery rate. Now, this is normally based on what we call a rate zone, which is kind of like delivery runs I spoke about before, how you've got different areas. You also have different areas for charging. So in Sydney, for example, at Roving, pretty much the entire city itself, until it started to become like rural areas, was considered the Sydney Metro rate zone. So what that meant was that any job going to any place within Sydney would always be priced out at the same rate. Now, when the jobs come through to be calculated in terms of price, you will have rules set up like, I don't know, for this customer we charge $4 per carton. And it will go in there and it will go, okay, I'm charging for this customer, I'm going to this area. The calculation logic in there will then figure out which rate card to use and then how to price that job. That's sort of the standard way of charging. In addition, you also have other methods you can use, such as, I don't know, how many hours it took, how far you drove. And then on top of all of that, you can also have like additional charges over the top of it, like or a good one we've just been working on recently is waiting time. So you might have a standard delivery charge of, I don't know, $15 to go to this place. But if you're waiting for more than 15 minutes, you might want it to start charging, I don't know, $10 every 15 minutes. So you do that through what we call ad hoc charges. Now, the reason we call it ad hoc charges is because they're completely configurable. People can call them whatever they want. They can add them, they can remove them. They could have an ad hoc charge called, I don't like this guy, and they could put $100 against it. And then when the driver gets there, he can say, yep, I don't like this guy, and charge it. And then that guy's going to get a $100 bill because the guy doesn't like him. It's funny, I've actually seen dickhead charge in someone's account under ad hoc charges before. Like, this is the sort of shit people do. So that's a way that you can apply additional pricing over and above the standard pricing. And then you've got this other thing called fuel levy. Fuel levy is kind of a weird concept if you haven't ever been in transport before, but what it is most transport companies, the rates that they give you are based on the fuel price being at a level. So I might tell you it's going to cost you $10 to get this box from here to here if the fuel price is $1.20 per litre, right? When the fuel price goes above $1.20 per litre, let's say it goes to $1.25, I'm going to charge you that price plus another 2%. And if it goes to $1.30 a litre, I'm going to charge you that price plus 10%. So fuel levy is implemented by transport companies to cover their costs with the changes in fuel price. Now, we have had a case where a client of ours in Sydney actually has a negative fuel levy. So they quoted their customers based on a price of like $1.20 a litre. The price then went below that, and so they now discount what they charge them with this fuel levy. It's crazy, but that's what they've done. So fuel levy, basically what you do to calculate fuel levy is you add all the other charges together, and then the way that you configure it is you might say, okay, I've got a current fuel levy of 5%, and then it will go through and go, okay, cool, and it will add another charge to the order for 5% of the other total, and that's considered fuel levy. Now that's transport charging. On the warehousing side, you've got charges for, well, again, you've got ad hoc charges, but this time they would normally be done on things like, so let's say that you receive in an order off a truck. You might have an ad hoc charge for wrapping a pallet. If you're unloading a container and you're taking lots of boxes and putting them on pallets and then wrapping them, you've got to cover the cost of that pallet wrap that you've used. So you would have an ad hoc charge for pallet wrap. You might also have an ad hoc charge for relabeling boxes as they come in, because they might have come in with all, like Chinese labels on them or something, and you want them to all have English labels. So the client would have said to you, relabel all these, and you would have said, yep, I'll charge you $1 per box, and then you put in, okay, I've relabeled 50 boxes and it prices that. You've got those sorts of prices. You might have prices in there for unloading a container itself. You might have different rates for unloading a container based on whether or not the stock inside the container is on pallets. Because if you think about a container when it comes through from somewhere like China, you can have the pallets all just sitting on the floor inside the container. You can have the boxes all just sitting inside the floor in the container, and then you've got to like physically lift them as a person and move them over and put them on a pallet and then stack them all up. Or you might have them on pallets inside that container. So of course the amount of work that's required to unload the container varies enormously depending on how the stuff's been stacked, and so you would use ad hoc charges there. In addition, you have what we call like item-based charging. Now, this is for stock which is coming in, this is what we call put-away fees. So I'll then charge you for handling this pallet into my warehouse and putting it in this location, because that's taking one of my guys to drive a forklift to do that. So you'll have rates and things like that loaded to say, if we put away a pallet, we charge $3.50. If we put away a single box by itself, we charge $1.20, you know, these sorts of things. Those same rules apply on outgoing too. So most people, when you're packing an order to send out, they might have like a per order charge of $5. They then might have a per box charge of 40 cents for actually picking the box off the shelf and putting it in the order. They might also have charges for wrapping pallets if it's a large order. Again, they might have charges for relabeling on the way out if that's something that they're doing. So those are all the kinds of charges you can get from the purchase orders and sales orders side. And then the very last one, which is part of warehousing, is storage charging. So when you've got a warehouse and you've got lots of different clients' goods in there and you're storing them all, you have to charge them for that storage space, because obviously space isn't free. You're paying rent for this huge warehouse and you need to cover that charge. So there's different ways of charging storage. You can charge storage based on how many of your pallet spaces have been taken up. You can charge it based on the total quantity of all their products added together, and then you might just say, I'm going to charge you $1 a box, and you don't even care about where they are in the warehouse anymore. You just charge them based on that. So we've got lots of different options around how you charge storage, how often you charge storage. Most people will do it on a weekly basis. So every single week it'll be like, we might charge you $3.50 per pallet per week. And then the system will go through and figure out, okay, how many pallet spaces were in use during that week, and it will make a charge based on that.